Who you are when no one is watching determines everything. Today's episode is one of the hardest stories I've ever told. This was during a time in my life when everything felt like it was collapsing around me, and it was. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. I had just come back from Texas. At the time, I was dealing with studios and parents asking me for details about a show that I technically didn't have anymore. I was fighting to get it back. The parents were excited. The studios were excited. The dancers were excited. And inside, I was carrying the pressure of knowing the show was gone for the moment. But I also knew something about myself. I knew I would fight to get it back. The problem was, I also knew that process wasn't going to happen overnight. So I kept moving forward. Externally, everyone saw me pushing forward with confidence. Internally, I was carrying the weight of everything. And during that same time, something else happened. It was my birthday. That birthday was important because it was the first time I had seen my kids in almost a full year. And I want to remind you, I want to be clear about something. That wasn't their choice, and it wasn't my choice either. But every time I tried to push through the situation we were dealing with, it affected them. So I made a decision that a lot of parents might understand. I decided to just let it be for them, not for me. Sorry, my dog's having a heart attack. My life has always been about my three kids. Even birthdays were never about friends or parties. They were always about us. Even my 40th birthday was just me and my kids. We went to medieval times and I had the best night, you guys. Before we went, we all got together. They came with me to get my hair done. We grabbed in and out while we were getting ready. And I remember I wanted to teach them something about giving. So I gave each of them $60 and I told them to go into the store and pick out my birthday present. I told them I would wear whatever they bought me that night. And my boys were so funny. They bought me it was like a high-collared shirt. It was so cute. Then we Ubered to medieval times. And I did that because one thing about me, I do not drink and drive. Which brings me to my birthday in 2022. Now, mind you, this is 1 month after I got back from Texas. I didn't even have a car at the time. That night before my birthday, I had taken an Uber and the driver accidentally left with my computer in the car. So I spent the entire night before my birthday trying to get in contact with Uber to retrieve my computer. I didn't sleep and I was completely exhausted, but I was so excited to see my kids that I found the energy anyway. We met at the San Clemente Pier. They brought me a card and a little candle. I still have that candle today. I was just so happy to be with them. When I left, I realized something. It was karaoke night. And I thought, you know what? It's my birthday. I've been through some hell. So I'm going to go sing some karaoke. Remind you, that was like my therapy. I knew a lot of people there, and I was so happy telling everyone about seeing my kids that day. Some people decided to buy me birthday shots. I didn't take shots on a normal basis, but that night I was like, well, I'm Ubering, so I thought, okay, I can relax a little bit and have some fun. At the end of the night, someone offered to drive me home. When I got into the car, I immediately fell asleep. I was just exhausted and honestly emotionally drained from seeing my kids that day. It was just a lot of emotions. I slept the entire ride home. When I got home, I went straight inside and I went to bed. The next morning, the woman whose house I was staying at asked me something. She said, "Did you hear all that noise last night?" And I said, "No, what happened?" She told me there had been a hit and run accident and someone had died. I immediately went online and started looking at the news. That's when I realized something that absolutely terrified me. I was asleep in the passenger seat when it happened. I called my mom immediately. I was shaking. I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to ruin someone's life. But I also knew the truth. And the truth is, who we are when no one is watching, when no one will ever know, that's what really determines our character. And in that moment, I had a choice. Do the right thing or stay quiet. So I called the police. I told them everything I knew. They took my statement and I felt horrible. But what was I supposed to do? Know the truth and say nothing? I called my friend after that and I was crying so hard. Everything finally hit me at once. The pressure of losing the show, the accident, the stress of trying to rebuild my life, moving multiple times. This was over 6 months. I moved multiple times. I remember crying and saying, what the hell is going on? Why can't I get ahead? I'm working my ass off. I'm focused. I'm sacrificing everything. And nothing is working. For the next month, the entire town talked about that accident. And I couldn't say anything. Except the people from the karaoke place had figured out I was in the car. So naturally, as things do in small towns, rumors started. People made horrible accusations about me. Some people said I was a killer. Some people said I was responsible. Some people who I thought were friends stopped talking to me. When I would walk into places, people would whisper, they would snicker, they would look me up and down, talk about me, and I would just walk in and hold my head held high because I did know the truth. I knew I did the right thing, and their opinions didn't change that. I'll be honest with you. Normally, I'm strong enough to handle things like that. But during that time, when I was alone, in silence, I was breaking, like even further than I was already broken. The woman whose house I was staying at eventually found out that I had been in the car, and she kicked me out immediately. She accused me of being an accomplice. No matter what I said, she would not believe me. To this day, I continue operating with the police, supporting the investigation. Without my statement, they would have never found the driver. And that family may have never gotten justice for their son. But even though I did the right thing, I was still the talk of the entire town. And all of this, you guys, was happening the exact same time I was fighting to rebuild the show that I had just lost. Studios and parents started accusing me of being a Ponzi scheme. I was now a fraud. The show actually wrote a letter telling the studios that what happened wasn't my fault. They had my back. They did the right thing, but people didn't care. They didn't trust even this letter with letterhead on it. The email started. The social media attack started. Someone even hacked my website and turned it into porn so I couldn't run my business. And suddenly, I had nowhere to live again. So I packed everything I owned into a U-Haul again. This was 2 months after moving out of that studio. I'd only lived in this lady's house for 2 months. I had absolutely nothing at this point. So I did what a lot of people do when they hit rock bottom. I called my mom and I said, Mom, I didn't want her to know like how bad it was. I don't know if she knew or not, but I thought I was hiding it. Mom, can I stay with you for a few weeks? But I still wasn't done fighting. I had one more idea. I planned to partner with a national company so I could launch the business under their name since I couldn't use mine anymore. Still trying to have that entrepreneur spirit, right? But to do that, I had to get to Las Vegas. And you guys, when I got to Las Vegas, something happened. Something that felt like a complete lifeline. For the first time in 2.5 years, something good happened. I didn't really know it was like good at the time. I just kind of took it. But it happened overnight. But the fight wasn't over, not even close. But it was the beginning of the rise. I truly believe God sent that moment because I didn't give up. I had every reason in the world to quit, but I refused to let the world define who I was. Every single day in Vegas, I had to pick myself up again. And while people were making assumptions that I was stripping, that I was losing my mind, that I had disappeared, that I wasn't with my kids, that JR was finished. They had no idea what I was actually doing. And it wasn't my job to get online and explain everything to everybody. I was just going to build everything in quiet, which I obviously did. Every day it was just me, my computer, and the grind to build iconic. Because I knew I would get there. I just had to survive long enough to reach it. Next week, I'm going to tell you what I was actually doing in Vegas and the lifeline that changed everything.